Hi everyone. Today we're...
KOFK News, stories that...
No! Stop with the KOFK news! I thought we established this last week. Today, we're going to finally finish up our story about Joseph and how God passed him the promise. Ha! I knew it was coming this time! Last week, we talked about how Pharaoh appointed Joseph to oversee the storage of grain for when the famine was going to hit. I left it on a cliffhanger about who was in Canaan, one of the places the famine was bad. Do you guys remember?
That was Joseph's family.
The famine was so bad that Jacob, Joseph's father, sent Joseph's 10 older brothers to go to Egypt to get grain. And who was in charge of distributing food? Joseph. The brothers didn't actually recognize Joseph at first, and he figured it was best to keep it that way for the time being. They came and bowed before him, just like in his dreams from before. He asked them where they were from, and they said they were from Canaan, there to buy food. He accused them of coming to spy on Egypt. He knew they weren't, but he wanted to test them. They, of course, denied being spies and told him their story. They said they were 10 of 12 brothers. The youngest in Canaan, the other gone. They didn't fess up to selling him into slavery. He claimed not to believe them and threw them in prison for 3 days, which was really nothing when compared to his 2 years. But he gave them an option. He said that if they weren't spies, they would let one brother stay in prison, while the other brothers took the grain home and brought the youngest brother back to Egypt to prove they were telling the truth. So Simeon, who was one of the brothers, was kept in prison.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
The other brothers told their father Jacob and eventually convinced him to send their brother Benjamin back with them to Egypt. Loaded up with bonus gifts, the brothers came back to Egypt with Benjamin in tow. Then Joseph sprung the next part of his plan into action. He brought Simeon back out and seated them all to have a great banquet. After the banquet, Joseph had his servants play a little trick. They stashed a special silver cup in Benjamin's sack. The next day, shortly after the brothers left, Joseph sent guards to have them searched, and sure enough, they found the silver cup in Benjamin's sack. The guards took them back to Egypt, where the brothers pleaded with Joseph that Benjamin couldn't possibly have stolen from him. Joseph couldn't keep his secret any longer and revealed that he was the brother they had sold into slavery. Naturally, they were terrified, but he comforted them, saying that although they had planned evil against him, God had turned it into good. He asked them to bring Jacob, their father, there to Egypt, so they could all live there as a family. We've finally reached the end of our story. One of the most awesome parts was Joseph's complete trust that God would make everything okay. In Genesis 50:20, he said, "Even though you planned evil against me, God planned good to come out of it." It also says in Jeremiah 29:11, "I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to give you hope and a future." Remember that God can make good from bad. We finally made it! Next week we'll have a wrap-up and review. Over the week, go ahead and go back to the church website and watch some of those old videos. It might help you on a game we might be playing. And, maybe read the Bible passages too. They kind of gives them in the videos. And, Bible's a book. Long book with a lot of stories in it, and we used a bunch of those stories, so you could probably use those. And since those are the stories that we did in the video, you might read those in the Bible, which is the book that has the stories.